if you understand the spiritual purpose of the Baha'i faith being to unite all humankind, all of the nations, all of the peoples, all of the religions, then it wouldn't come as a surprise to you that the first teachings are all about unity and oneness. Our concept of God, known by many names, but one God, one spiritual entity that knew his love for his creation and therefore created all that is. And that our concept of the unity of religion, that all of the religions come from the same loving Father and are extensions of the same civilizing and spiritualizing truth. And the unity of humankind itself, of many colors and many backgrounds and many traditions, we're all one. Christ said it, there would come a day when all of the flocks would be gathered into one fold, when humankind would be united, and we would come to understand that our true distinction is not that we're black or white or brown or red or yellow, but that we're children of God, and that we're brothers and sisters to each other in service and in love. So these are the fundamental teachings of the Baha'i faith. Excuse me, and if you go on, there's the teaching of the independent investigation of truth. This is the knowledge age. And this is a modern religion that calls for universal education and for an independent search of truth, so that people will know of their own minds and not of the minds of others, know of their own knowledge and not of the knowledge of others.
I just want to say, interject one point there. And within that search, Baha'is believe, Baha'u'llah taught, that God is an unknowable essence, but that through these divine teachers, Christ, Muhammad, the Buddha, Baha'u'llah, we learn about God. God being this unknowable essence beyond our capability, which is really hard for us to accept. But that his plan being to reach us, teach us of him through these divine prophets or
what
teachers.
about knowing God through your own experience with God?
I think it's a little bit like
in the course of your search for truth, your meditation, the search within yourself for that which is God.
You know, I think there are many ways that we come to the knowledge of God. You know, I think a friend of mine who is an architect of some accomplishment said quite emphatically that the first proof of God is beauty, the fact of it. And I think that as we look around with an appreciative eye at the beauty of creation, it stimulates something spiritual inside us and awakens something that God put inside our hearts to appreciate the spiritual dimension of creation. And so I think there are many ways that we can come. We hear beautiful music and it inspires something deep inside us that just resonates to something that is fundamentally right about our hearts and our feelings. We hear beautiful poetry or read a book that really captures our mind and attention, and all these things become spiritual stimulus. We develop relationships that turn into love and marriage and children and family and commitments. We become parts of community. All these things are beyond individual need and speak to our spirit's need to embrace and to appreciate and to understand the reason for existence. And I think all those things come as a result of teachings from the divine messengers that have come to humankind over time. And so in the Baha'i writings, one of the things Baha'u'llah says is that in order for us to progress spiritually, we have to see God with the eyes that he provides for us. And he says he says this because he says that if we know God through definitions that we ourselves have generated, It's at the level of our own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But our understanding can't possibly embrace all that he is.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that you don't still have an independent relationship to God, whether that be the mystical experience of communion, whether in meditation or prayer. But it's, if this is God's plan, so to speak, that we would learn the major truths and some of the nuanced truths over time through these writings, then why not orient oneself to that and use that as, say, the grounding or the basis for your own independent investigation? Because it's one thing for me to have an idea and you to have an idea, but how do we bring all those ideas together in a world?
Well, see, here's part of it. Part of it is, if I know something because you told me about it, my confidence in it will be at least one step removed from if I know it, as the old folks say, for myself, you know? And so, as you point out, there are many ways in which I can know it for myself, you know, through the mere fact that the creation exists, you know, gives me some understanding for myself. But I've got to have something that's intrinsic, that doesn't, and it might be limited, as you point out, it be based upon your own understanding, which certainly can never be the whole thing, because I think we all agree that if one could really know the whole thing, then one would not be merely a part, but one would be the whole thing. So we certainly can agree on that. But one thing I wanted to mention.
Well, it's what Maya Angelou said. It's a journey.
Yes, it is.
It's a continuous process of discovery.
What Paula has said, you know, her life is about learning to be Baha'i. You know, to be Baha'i, Baha'i in progress. You know, because there is always more to know and more to experience.